12 NFL franchises have yet to win the Super Bowl. 4 of them have never appeared in the big game. Yes, some NFL franchises are far more successful than others, but every team has several all-time greats who never managed to win the big one. Here is a look at every NFL team's best player that never won the Super Bowl. Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. The 11-time Pro Bowler sits second all-time in receiving yards and TD receptions. The only thing missing on Fitzgerald's otherwise Hall of Fame resume is a Super Bowl ring. Of course, he and the Cardinals were just seconds away from emerging victorious in Super Bowl 43, but Santonio Holmes and the Pittsburgh Steelers had other ideas, as you may remember. Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan. The 2016 MVP should find himself in Canton someday. Sadly, Ryan and the Falcons blew a prime shot at a championship when they blew a 28-3 lead to Tom Brady's New England Patriots in Super Bowl 51. Those Falcons never really recovered after that Super Bowl meltdown. You just have to feel for Ryan. Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Mason. Mason, an 8-time 1,000-yard receiver, was on the 1999 Tennessee Titans team that lost to the St. Louis Rams in Super Bowl 34. He reached the 2002 and 2008 AFC title games with Tennessee and Baltimore respectively, but was on the losing end both times. Awfully close, but it just wasn't meant to be. Buffalo Bills, Jim Kelly. The Hall of Fame quarterback and the Bills reached 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s, but as everybody knows, they lost every single one of them. 3 of them were blowouts. The lone close affair was Super Bowl 25 when Scott Norwood's game-winning field goal attempt went wide right. Carolina Panthers, Julius Peppers. Man, this guy kept on falling just short. First, his Panthers lost a thrilling Super Bowl 38 affair to the Patriots. 2 years later, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. The 9-time Pro Bowl defensive end also made the NFC title game with the Chicago Bears in 2010, where they fell to the Green Bay Packers. He later joined the Pack and got to the 2014 and 2016 NFC title game, but they lost on both occasions. Chicago Bears, Dick Butkus. Widely regarded as the greatest linebacker of all time, this Chicago sports icon never got the chance to play in a postseason game. The Bears were hardly competitive throughout Butkus's career, which spanned from 1965 to 1973. The 2-time Defensive Player of the Year deserved so much better. Cincinnati Bengals, Anthony MUNOZ, the 9-time first-team All-Pro offensive tackle, dominated his position more than anybody else in history. The Bengals lost 2 tight Super Bowl contests to Joe Montana's San Francisco 49ers in the 80s. He gave it his all for the Bengals, but they just couldn't quite reach that Super Bowl finish line. Cleveland Browns, OZZIE NEWSOME. Yes, NEWSOME has 2 Super Bowl rings as an executive with the Ravens, but this list is based on his playing career. The Hall of Fame tight end led the Browns to AFC title game appearances in 1986, 1987, and 1989. They lost all 3 to John Elway's Denver Broncos. The Browns just couldn't get past their AFC kryptonite. Dallas Cowboys, Jason Witten. The 11-time Pro Bowl tight end played on some star-studded Dallas Cowboys teams during his 16 years with the franchise, but America's team has never really lived up to their lofty expectations in the 21st century. Witten only got to experience 8 playoff games and only 2 postseason victories as a Cowboy. They never once reached the NFC Championship game, despite finishing as the #1 seed twice. Denver Broncos, Champ Bailey. The ball-hawking shutdown corner was the NFL's best cornerback during the 2000s. Bailey played on some great Denver teams, such as the 2005 squad that were AFC runner-ups, the 2012 team that was the conference's top seed, and of course, the 2013 squad that got pummeled by the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 48. The 12-time Pro Bowler and Hall of Famer had his fair share of chances, but it just never materialized. Detroit Lions, Barry Sanders. Sanders was the NFL's best running back during the 1990s, rushing for over 1,000 yards in each of his 10 professional seasons. And yet, Sanders only got to taste 6 playoff games in his Hall of Fame career. Think about that. Detroit only managed 1 postseason victory with this guy. Green Bay Packers, James Lofton. It feels like almost every Packer legend holds a Super Bowl ring, but Hall of Fame receiver James Lofton, who played for the Packers from 1978 to 1986, isn't one of them. He got close on 3 occasions with the Bills. Yes, Lofton was on the 1990, 1991, and 1992 squads that lost in the Super Bowl. He was long gone by the time the Bills lost a 4th straight Super Bowl in the 1993 season. Houston Texans, J.J. Watt. From 2011 to 2015, there was no better defensive player in the NFL than J.J. Watt. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 2012, 2014, and 2015. He was an absolute game changer who put his struggling young franchise on the NFL map. The Texans got to the AFC divisional round 3 times with Watt, but no further. Inept management and ownership ruined most of his prime years. Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck. The number 1 pick from the 2012 draft shocked the world when he retired before his 30th birthday in 2019, just weeks before the start of the regular season. Luck lost the desire to play following a sad list of nagging injuries. Still, 4 Pro Bowls, a Comeback Player of the Year award, 4 playoff berths, and a trip to the 2014 AFC Championship game is a pretty impressive resume. Jacksonville Jaguars, Tony Boselli. The former superstar offensive tackle was on his way to the Hall of Fame. It's a shame that a shoulder injury forced Boselli to retire before his age 30 campaign. He accomplished so much in 7 seasons with the Jaguars. Boselli was on the Jacksonville team that reached the 1996 and 1999 AFC Championship games. He quickly helped put his franchise on the NFL map. 5 Pro Bowl and 3 first-team All-Pro selections, and he was named to the 1990s All-Decade team. Kansas City Chiefs, Derrick Thomas. Such a tough call between Thomas and tight end Tony Gonzalez, but ultimately we had to settle on the legendary linebacker. Thomas was a game wrecker all over the field. The 9-time Pro Bowler had 126.5 career sacks and a whopping 41 forced fumbles. He holds the record for most sacks in a game with 7, set back in 1990. Casey went to the playoffs 7 times with Thomas, going as far as the 1993 AFC title game, where they lost to the Bills. Tragically, he died at the age of 33 in 2000 after suffering a pulmonary embolism following a horrific car accident. Las Vegas Raiders, Jim Otto. Well, Otto did win the 1967 AFL championship with the Raiders, but the man who's widely considered to be the greatest center of all time never got his hands on the Lombardi Trophy. Otto's Raiders lost to the Packers in Super Bowl II. The NFL and AFL icon retired after the 1974 season, and, well, the Raiders would finally win the Super Bowl 2 seasons later. If only Otto just gave it 2 more years. Los Angeles Chargers, Philip Rivers. Rivers played on some star-studded Chargers teams that simply found the most amazing ways to blow games. Somehow, the Chargers only reached 1 AFC title game with Rivers in 2007, but no Super Bowls. The 8-time Pro Bowler somehow only saw 7 playoff appearances in his career, the last one coming with the Indianapolis Colts in 2020. Los Angeles Rams, Deacon Jones. The man who coined the term sacks in football sadly never really got that close to a Super Bowl. The 1967 and 1968 Defensive Player of the Year only tasted the postseason twice with the Rams, and once with Washington in 1974. All 3 of those playoff games were losses for Jones. Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino. Not much to say here. He's the greatest quarterback to have never won a Super Bowl. His Dolphins were destroyed 38-16 by the 49ers in Super Bowl 19. Nobody knew it at the time, but that would be Marino's lone Super Bowl appearance. For as great as he was, his legacy is really that of the greatest QB to never win it all. Fair or not. Minnesota Vikings, Alan Page. Part of the legendary Vikings Purple People Eaters defense, the superstar defensive tackle guided his team to 4 Super Bowl appearances. But they lost every single one of them, in a very Buffalo Bills-esque fashion. The 1971 MVP award winner at least won the 1969 NFL championship with many, but no Super Bowl ring to go along with it. New England Patriots, John Hanna. The Patriots' 21st century dynasty started long after Hanna's Hall of Fame career. The 9-time Pro Bowl guard earned 1970s and 1980s All-Decade team selections. Really, the one thing missing in his career was a Super Bowl. Well, the Patriots reached Super Bowl 20 in Hanna's swan song season, but they were blown out by the Bears. New Orleans Saints, Willie ROAF. Another all-time great offensive lineman, ROAF spent the bulk of his career on non-competitive New Orleans teams. He only got to the playoffs once with them back in 2000. The 11-time Pro Bowler and 6-time first-team All-Pro spent his final 4 seasons on more competitive Kansas City teams, but they only made it to the postseason once. That was a one-and-done playoff outing in 2003. Only 3 playoff games for the Hall of Famer who earned 1990s and 2000s All-Decade team selections. Got a feel for ROAF, who truly deserves Super Bowl glory. New York Giants, Tiki Barber. The former star running back got close all right. His Giants reached Super Bowl 34 in the 2000 season, but they're blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. Barber, a member of the 10,000-yard rushing club, retired after the 2006 season despite rushing for 1,662 yards. Well, the Giants went on to win Super Bowl 42 over the previously undefeated Patriots the very next season. Yeah, if Barber only gave it 1 more year. New York Jets, Curtis Martin. The man who sits 6th all-time in rushing yards spent his first 3 seasons with the Patriots. He got them to the Super Bowl in his sophomore year, but they weren't much of a match for the Packers. Martin left for the rival Jets in 1998 free agency. He put together a Hall of Fame career, but yeah. The Patriots went on to win 3 Super Bowls during Martin's tenure with the Jets. He led the Jets to the 1998 AFC Championship game where they lost to the Broncos. And that was as far as Martin would ever get to tasting Super Bowl glory after leaving New England. Philadelphia Eagles. Brian Dawkins. Renowned for his hard-hitting and superb ball-hawking skills, Dawkins is simply one of the true greats to have never won it all. The Eagles went to 5 NFC Championship games in Dawkins' tenure. They only reached the Super Bowl once, however. That was in the 2004 season where they fell to the Patriots by a final score of 24-21. So close, Brian. So close. Pittsburgh Steelers. Dermontti Dawson. Dawson was instrumental in helping the Bill Cowher coached Steelers emerge as a powerhouse in the 90s. The 7-time Pro Bowl center helped the Steelers reach the playoffs 7 times. This included 3 AFC Championship games and a trip to Super Bowl 30 where they lost to the Cowboys. Dawson is enshrined in the Hall of Fame, but there's unfortunately no Super Bowl ring to go with that otherwise near-flawless resume. San Francisco 49ers. Dave Wilcox. The Hall of Fame linebacker played long before the 49ers dynasty began in the 80s. Still, he holds a special place in Niners history. Truly one of the best to ever do it. Wilcox and the 49ers reached the playoffs 3 straight years from 1970 to 72. This included NFC title game appearances in the 70 and 71 seasons. But they lost both games to the Cowboys. That was the closest Wilcox would get to a championship. The Seattle Seahawks. Steve Largent. You can argue that Largent is the GOAT of all Seahawks. He was one of the league's most dynamic offensive players in the 70s and 80s, leading the NFL in receiving yards twice. The Seahawks made the playoffs 4 times in Largent's career. The furthest they advanced, the 1983 AFC Championship game, where the Los Angeles Raiders soundly defeated them 30-14. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Leroy Selman. Selman spent his entire career with the Bucs, beginning in their inaugural 1976 season up until 1984. He was simply one of the NFL's most feared pass rushers of his time, winning the 1979 Defensive Player of the Year award. He was also a 6-time Pro Bowler and 3-time first-team All-Pro. Selman helped Tampa Bay reach the 1979 NFC Championship game, but they fell 9-0 to the Rams. That was the furthest the Bucs ever advanced in his Hall of Fame career. Tennessee Titans. Earl Campbell. A 3-time rushing champion, 1979 NFL MVP, and 3-time Offensive Player of the Year, had his chances with the Houston Oilers. They reached consecutive AFC title games in 1978 and 79, losing to the Steelers on both occasions. But the Oilers never managed to get that far again with their explosive running back. Campbell spent 1.5 seasons on the Saints, but they missed the postseason both years. Washington Football Team. Sonny Jurgensen. Jurgensen spent his first 7 seasons with the Eagles, leading them to a 1960 NFL championship before joining Washington in 1964. Washington was a mediocre team in Jurgensen's first 7 years there, failing to reach the postseason each year. Injuries and the emergence of Billy Kilmer limited Jurgensen to no more than 4 starts in a season over his final 4 years. He was sidelined in the team's Super Bowl 7 loss to the undefeated Dolphins. If Jurgensen was healthy for that game, who knows, maybe he wouldn't be on this list. Who is your favorite NFL team's best player that never won a Super Bowl? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.